Hello and welcome to a special edition of Hafeman Brothers Talking Packers. Tonight we have the long anticipated debate between the brothers Hafeman, talking all things Packers, all things not Packers. No topic is off limits. So, so the rules for this evening are going to be uh, 5 minutes for the opening statement, to which the other brother will have 3 minutes for their rebuttal. Any questions on that? At 30 seconds, you'll get a warning letting you know that your time is almost up. And when your time has elapsed, we'll be letting you know so we can try to keep you guys on pace, get things finished on time, maybe for the first time in history of Hafeman Brothers Talking Packers.
That'll be the hardest job for sure. That's why we picked you for it.
I know, that's why I'm getting paid so much for this gig. So, all right, Jason, any questions?
Nope. I'm ready whenever you are. I just want to say thank you for being willing to try to handle us tonight. I'm not sure anyone was up for that, but you accepted. So thank you for that. Thank you for watching this debate rather than the other one, because there's no point in watching that. If you don't know what you're doing by now, I don't know where you're at. So that's my opening statement. Welcome to tonight.
Ben, anything you'd like to say to the loyal viewers before your brother has at you?
All Somebody says looking good, Ben. Looking good, Ben, in the chat.
You guys are looking sharp. Ben's saving his energy and his vocal cords. All right. We had a secret coin flip before going. Jason's drinking Bud Light tonight, apparently.
Straight vodka, Eric.
Oh. We had a secret coin flip before the debate opened to determine who was going to be answering the first question first. And the coin flip determined that it is Jason. Jason, the first question to you is, if you were Mike Pettin, what changes would you make to try to improve this pathetic defense? Your time starts now.
It's a great question. I don't know who came up with it, but it's a very good question. Mike Pettin is in a difficult spot. There's no doubt about that. As Matt LaFleur likes to say, there's no doubt about a bunch of things that people say. But Mike Pettin is one of those guys that he has recognized that he doesn't have enough talent on the defense to play the way he wants to. So currently he's trying to protect his lack of talent. And that is causing so many issues. It's causing this defense to look like a Dom Capers defense, not a Mike Pettin defense. And that falls back on personnel, just as you might understand, because the Packers have drafted defense years and years and years and years. And they went out and signed high-priced free agents last year, 3 of them. And this year, and then just gave Kenny Clark a massive contract. One of the highest paid D tackles in the NFL. Now, Kenny Clark's a nice player. It's nice that he's young still, but is he worth all that? I don't know. The response and the play of this defense does not say that he is. So the personnel is a huge challenge. So the only thing you can do, if you're Mike Pettin, is go for broke. Blitz, gamble, press. Don't play passive. Play as aggressive as possible. And if you get beat over the top, you get beat over the top. At least your offense gets the ball right back and has a chance to do something with it. So if I were Mike Pettin, I'd play press man unless Kevin King was in the game. Then I might just put him off the field and stick Kadar Holman in there instead. Josh Jackson. I don't care. Give me anybody. Actually, I'd sign Marc-Antoine Dequoy back, and I'd stick him in there at cornerback. And I would press man all these guys. I'd have the safeties no deeper than 10 yards on every single play. I would let Savage be the deep safety, Amos up in the box more. I'd blitz my safeties regularly. I'd blitz my inside backers regularly. I would never drop my D tackles into coverage. I'd never drop Preston Smith into coverage. I'd never drop Rashawn Gary into coverage, but I might drop Zadarius Smith into coverage because apparently he can't rush the passer this year. So those are the adjustments I would make. And I think they would have a better chance of being successful with those changes to the defensive approach.
Well, I don't think anyone would argue that they could be much worse after making such changes. Ben, what do you think?
First of all, thank you to the public at large for tuning in.
They already say
This
you're winning.
Incredible.
Andy Brown says you're winning. Oh, I'm sorry.
Incredible debate that we have this evening. As you can see, the lighting behind me is gorgeous, just above Lambeau. I don't know when this picture was taken, but we're going to pretend it's right now. And that's the goal, is to make all Packer fans feel as gorgeous as that background is on my video screen right now. And how can you do that? Well, Mike Pettin has to make chicken salad out of chicken stuff. And how can he do it? It's very simple. You play the best players, no matter how much they make, no matter where they were drafted. You take the players that you have and you have them do what they're good at. Wow. Shannon Sullivan, keep him in the slot, covering guys around the line of scrimmage. Jair Alexander, keep him attacking the line of scrimmage. Send him on blitz every now and again because he's good at it. D tackles. You need to have all four of them, because I tell you, Kings Kiki looks good. Even Montrevious Adams is looking good. Give him a couple plays, get him in, rotate him. I want to see rotation with everybody. Kenny Clark as well. That's the key there. Also, never drop the D tackles into coverage. Never drop Preston Smith into coverage. That is something that me and my esteemed colleague agree on. But the biggest thing is, look at what you have and utilize it. You don't have great coverage skills other than Jair and Shannon Sullivan. So perhaps what you can do is utilize those two guys on opposite sides of the field. Play a zone coverage on the inside, which we've shown that Barnes and Summers are both very good at coverage in zone and attacking when the ball is in the air and knowing where to go when the ball is in the air. And you could, switch off, blitzing them from here and there, but also changing it up. If you have to play man, you can play man. If you have to play zone, you can play zone. But the biggest thing is understand what you have and what your players can do and use it to their advantage. Put them in a place where they can succeed. And we have players that can do that. And Pettin needs to stop playing passive and start playing aggressive. Also, the most important thing, if a guy does not do his assignment, he needs to be ridiculed. He needs to be ridiculed and taken to task. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
You need to explain what that is, Rick, because a lot of people probably thought that I was having flagellant issues. That is not something that a professional like me would have at this time. I would not be having flagellant problems during a debate. So can you please explain what those flagellant sounds were? Thank you, sir.
Those sounds were provided by the debate commission as the 30-second warning. You get a small toot, if you will. And at the end of your 30-second warning, you get hit with a full barrage. And if you still haven't completed your thoughts at that point, you get Adam Sandler / Jason Hafeman talking over the top of you so that the public can't really hear any more thoughts beyond your allotted time. So, thank you.
Well, I will respect the fart gun and end my statement at that. Thank you.
And your objections to the juvenile humor have been noted for the record. Thank you. All right. I think most people would agree that there's certainly problems on the defense, but another area of concern for this Packers team is the offensive line, which certainly has been lacking at times, but it's not all bad. There have been some positives on the offensive line as well. Ben, who is your favorite offensive lineman on this team and why?
Well, that's a great question, Rick. But unfortunately, I have to continue with what I was saying earlier because I was so rudely interrupted by flagellants. Anyways, as you know, in debates, oftentimes they keep going on with the previous topic when they run out of time, when they come back to their next topic, because they didn't finish what they said, and I have to finish what I said. The most important thing that Pettin can do to his defense is when they are in the wrong, call them out, coach them up. Do not let a player do whatever they want when it's detrimental to the scheme. Now, his schemes are terrible, so it doesn't matter. But if he would change it, be more aggressive, and guys are doing whatever they want and not following what their assignments are, it leaves everybody else in a hole. It causes big problems for everybody. And that is another thing. These guys need to be taken to task. They're professionals, and they need to act like professionals and do the job that they're told to do, not do whatever willy-nilly thing they want to do. Okay. Now, as far as offensive linemen go, the reason why I decided to finish my other statement is because my favorite offensive lineman is right now on IR. I'm sorry. It's Lane Taylor. And I was so excited when Lane Taylor came back, when they signed him to a cheaper contract, unfortunately for him, which is a bunch of crap, but that's fine. But he came back, and this summer everybody was talking about Billy Turner is going to be playing right tackle. Wagner's going to be or right guard, and Wagner's going to be right tackle. And Lane Taylor might not even be on the team. At least he's a good veteran to be there. And he ends up being the best guy. He ends up being the best guy. So good, in fact, that they start 4 guards. Well, 3 guards and a center and Bakhtiari. But they had to put him in the starting lineup. And they just moved Jenkins over to right tackle for the first game. And it's all because Lane Taylor is one of those guys, is always one of my favorite type of guys. A guy who had a chance, who worked his butt off, who does everything he can to be professional and always do his job to the best of his ability. Is he perfect at every play when he's in there? Not always, no. But he is the number one guy when it comes to knowing what's going on. And I'll always bring this back. When the Packers needed one play, one pass to advance in the playoffs, who's the guy who's protected Aaron Rodgers so he can throw that bomb to Slowpoke Cook on the sideline in the playoff game against the Cowboys? It was Lane Taylor. He's the guy that Rodgers trusted to come out and give him the bonus little extra bodyguard. And that's why Lane Taylor is by far my favorite offensive lineman on the Packers. And it saddens me and it killed me to see that he got hurt in week 1 after he come back from his injury last year and was looking so great in camp from what we had heard, and also looking great in the game when he was in there. And now it's just one of those things where we're going to have to deal with it, move on. We need to have Turner and or Wagner play at right tackle. And obviously now we might have to have one of them play at left tackle if Bakhtiari's not playing on Sunday. But as far as this goes, Lane Taylor is the best offensive lineman because of his maturity, his ability to process information and make that translate to the field. And it's not very often, when you watch Packer games, especially the last couple, there's been so many missed assignments on blitzes. Guys come in, nobody knows who to block or who to go after or whatever the case is. Lane Taylor doesn't have that problem in pass protection. And on running downs, he's great. He gets on his guy. He makes the block. He goes until the whistle. That's another thing that some guys don't do on the Packers offensive line that Lane Taylor always does. So it's just one of those things where he's a great guy. He works hard, and it's sad and a shame. And I know he's not on the team right now, at least on the playing field, but he is the guy who, if you told me, pick one man to guard your front end, I'm picking Lane Taylor. He's the man. I'm done. I don't need any more time.
Jason?
Well, before I get into the offensive lineman, I do have to say something. I have to point something out. The chat actually got disconnected at one point when we played the Adam Sandler piece. I think because they actually thought we were using Adam Sandler's copyrighted work. That's how realistic and close to the original that was. I just wanted to point that out real quick. All right. So now in terms of the offensive line, it's really interesting offensive line, right? I mean, I really, you guys know I love Lucas Patrick. I talk about Lucas Patrick a bunch on our show. Love him. Love the guy to death. He blocks to the whistle. He plays hard, plays his butt off. He's reliable, can play 3 positions. Great guy. Much better mustache than I could ever have. All that stuff. Went to Duke. Okay. I hate their basketball team, but their football team's okay. Corey Linsley is really growing on me. He's kind of like Moss. He's kind of like Moss. He's like Moss grows on my patio. Corey Linsley is kind of like that on my conscience at this point. He's not nice to look at, also like Moss, but he serves a purpose, and he's sticky to some of these defenders that he's trying to block. So he's growing on me as well. But I have to give the nod to the guy who just got injured, David Bakhtiari. All right. He's an all-pro, Pro Bowler at football, left tackle, but also at beer guzzling. All right. That gets him a big nod. And a great player, apparently the best at holding in the whole NFL, according to Viking Mo, who's been on our show before. And the other thing that Bakhtiari does, and the thing that puts him over the top, is that he loves Pitch Perfect. So much so that he got the Packers to be in Pitch Perfect 2. Now, for all of those reasons, but especially the Pitch Perfect, that's why David Bakhtiari is my favorite. And he should be yours too.
All right. Thank you for that perspective, Jason and Ben. I think most people would agree that offensive line is generally an underrated position on most teams. Who do you think is the most underrated player on this year's team, if it's not, in fact, already the offensive lineman that you've discussed?
It's interesting because I think. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going. I'm sorry.
No, it is to you, Jason.
All right. I didn't know if the clock started. I wanted to.
It's starting now.
Okay.
You get
Fantastic.
3 seconds back.
Okay. Oh, no problem. Hey, I just wanted to say hey to Bruce and Nate. Nate, good to see you again. Mom and Dad are here. Browner, Bernard, hanging out in the chat. Thanks for all that. Some people declared Ben the winner automatically, maybe just because of the tie. Look, I gave up on ties a while ago. Once I saw like all these bankers and all these other lawyers and stuff not wearing ties anymore, I didn't worry about ties anymore. You know why? Because I never could figure out the full Windsor. I don't know why. Ben, do you know how to do the full Windsor? Okay. I know Eric knows, but I could never figure it out. Every time I tried to do it, the tie got super messed up. And then I'm like, I can remember when George W. Bush was the president and would only do the half Windsor and he had the angled knot because he never could do the full Windsor. And you're like, that's the president of the United States. How does he not know how to get someone to tie his tie to the full Windsor? But regardless,
I have to say, moderator Rick, I believe my opponent is trying to dodge his question. He has gone rambled on about I don't know what he is talking about. Okay, thank you.
All right, what was the question? Hold on.
Oh my gosh.
Could you repeat the question, please? Oh, underrated.
Who is the most underrated player on the team? Please stay on topic, Jason.
I'm sorry. Robert Tonyan.
Would you like to elaborate, or is it just it speaks for itself?
His play speaks for itself. I think after the 3 touchdown game, everybody's like finally understanding how awesome he is. But he's been underrated since he's been on the team. He should have been starting 2 years ago. Should have been starting last year. Finally, we got rid of Jimmy Graham, which was nice, but it shouldn't have taken getting rid of Jimmy Graham to get that guy on the field. He's got the best hands. Mercedes Lewis actually in his interview this week was asked about Tonyan and talked about him and said how he's from the moment he got there, you could see soft hands, great catching, great ability, speed, a willing blocker who's gotten better at blocking. All of that was in Tonyan's toolbox. He said the thing he's elevated on this year was taking his mental game to the next level, which after hanging out with George Kittle, I didn't think that was what you'd get out of that. I thought you'd get like, well, I don't know, you'd be a little crazier or play more video games or grow your hair longer. That was all you got out of it. And you worked really hard. Like Kittle's a hard worker, but I didn't think it was like, hey, taking your mental game to the next level at tight end. But it is definitely, most definitely, Robert Tonyan. He could be a key piece to the offense making it go. And when he got dinged up with the ankle against Tampa Bay, that hurt them a lot. If he doesn't come back full speed, that is going to hurt their offense a lot.
Ben, would you agree that Robert Tonyan is the most underrated player on this team?
No. How can a man who got 3 touchdowns on Monday Night Football be underrated? Or Sunday Night Football, whatever it was. Sunday night, Monday night, I can't remember what night it was. But everybody watched the game. And the guy got 3 touchdowns, and everybody knows who he is. He's not underrated. He is exactly rated what he is. He's a good tight end on the rise. Everybody knows who he is. The most underrated and egregious underration of any player on the Packers squad at this moment, based on my film study from Game Pass, I'm going to give a shout out to Game Pass once again because we use it quite often. And I just wanted to say thank you to Game Pass and promote it because it's really, really good so they don't take it away from us someday. Anyways, back to what I was saying is one Tyler Lancaster. Tyler Lancaster. Does anybody talk about him? Does he get a ton of tackles? Does everybody complain about how he's missing tackles and how he stinks and he doesn't work hard or he doesn't make plays or he doesn't do all these things? Nobody says anything about him. But I'll tell you this. If it wasn't for him, Packers would have lost against New Orleans. Packers would have lost against Atlanta as well. Because he took on double teams the entire time when he was in there. He took on single plays. He shed blocks. He made tackles. He helped other guys to be able to succeed because he took on more guys. His job is not a job that anybody even looks at on the regular game when they're watching the game. They don't even know what he's doing. They don't even care. Because the last guy you're going to look at is the guy sitting in the middle, taking up 2-3 guys to help out everybody else to get free. But he's the guy who is the most important guy. And he's also the guy who didn't play enough this past weekend when Kenny Clark was getting single blocked and not getting off the block, by the way. Mr. Big Time, Big Money, Kenny Clark. Yet Tyler Lancaster gets double teamed and holds his own and makes sure that the play doesn't not get past him. Make sure that the running back does not get a whole full head of steam past him because he is holding his own and making the play. Maybe he's not tackling it, but he is the reason why the play is ended and why the play is done. He needs to be in there more often, especially at nose tackle. The problem this last weekend, they played him at defensive end again. He's not as good on the edge. He can get beat to the outside. We know that. But when it comes to the middle, he can hold his own and do great. And to be honest, I think Kenny Clark should be played more at defensive end, and Tyler Lancaster should start at nose tackle. That's something that Pettin should do. So that's what I say. Tyler Lancaster, by far the most underrated Packer on this team and deserves some respect. A man who got 3 touchdowns on Monday Night Football, he got his respect after that. Everybody knows who he is. Nobody gives Tyler Lancaster any respect.
All right.
I have a question for my opponent here.
Yes.
My brother, man, if I may ask, Ben, this is just what I'm throwing in there. What do you think? This is kind of a bonus opportunity for you. Do you think the Packers should have invested money in Kenny Clark, or would they have been better spending much less money and investing in Tyler Lancaster to handle the middle of the defense?
Well, I think you just heard my answer. I think Kenny Clark is not worth the money. I think Tyler Lancaster would be worth whatever money they gave him. And you know what else they could have done with that extra money? They could have signed back Blake Martinez, by the way, who's doing pretty good with the Giants. He's not great, but he's more solid than Christian Kirksey was, who got hurt within like a week. So, you know my answer to that. Tyler Lancaster. But I will say this. Kiki is making some good plays as well. But as far as I'm most underrated, it's Tyler Lancaster. Nobody knows what he does. Nobody cares what he does. But trust me, he's doing good stuff. And people need to, if they could watch the all 22 film, they'd see this guy is, he's the man. He's the man. He's doing really, 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 really well for a nose tackle.
All right. Staying on the topic of key guys that the Packers need to keep in the mix going forward, who are up to 4 key free agents that you would like to see the Packers retain? Or would you even say the Packers have to sign to keep them on board going forward? Ben.
Well, the hardest part is there's a lot of guys who are on 1-year deals that were restricted free agents last year and are now, after this season, going to not be restricted free agents. And they're guys on the rise. They're players that people know of. As a matter of fact, Robert Tonyan is one of them, as well as Alan Lazard, as well as Tyler Ervin, as well as Lancaster, by the way. All those guys are key pieces to the team that are on the rise and people know of and might be hard to hang on to, especially if they keep having 3 touchdown games or 160-yard games with no touchdowns or with 1 touchdown because he falls on his face at the 3-yard line as Lazard. But the most important guys to get back, and we saw it on the game on Sunday, Dave Bakhtiari is number 1. I mean, as much as I don't want to pay a offensive lineman top dollar at left tackle, without him, I mean, oh my gosh, it was bad. It was bad. I mean, Wagner didn't know who to block, what to block. He couldn't get anywhere. And even though Bakhtiari, on a video I showed on Tuesday, decided not to block the guy in front of him and do something totally different on sometimes in running plays, his pass blocking is excellent and he's needed. So he's number 1. Number 2, I have to be honest. I think it's Tonyan because he is a chance of being a difference maker. And he won't cost you as much as some other guys on the free agent market, unless he goes crazy this rest of the season and gets 27 touchdowns and something happens, where he turns into George Kittle all of a sudden. Then they probably can't keep him. But he's integral to the team because I think Mercedes Lewis is on the end of his rope here. He actually missed a couple blocks in the game that cost them some running plays for Aaron Jones this last weekend, and which I didn't show the video of, but it was like the first couple drives they scored a field goal and a touchdown on, but he missed some blocks. I don't know what he was doing. Probably because he's too slow to get to those fast linebackers. The next one is Aaron Jones. I love Aaron Jones. He is an all-around, top-notch running back who scores a crap ton of touchdowns. He can catch the ball. He can run with the ball. He can juke you out of your shorts. The only thing he doesn't do is run you over. But you got A.J. Dillon now for the next at least 3 years, this year plus 3 more years on his rookie deal. So you've got a guy who can pound. You just need a guy who can shift and wiggle and do all kinds of crazy stuff, and that's Aaron Jones. So he's the third one you need to bring back. And the fourth one, it's going to be probably one of my favorite guys is Chandon Sullivan. He is another guy who is, he was a restricted free agent last season, signed to a 1-year deal this year. He will be an unrestricted free agent after this season. He is a key piece. He's a guy where when he's not in there, you can tell. You can tell that it is Redmond in the slot on the other side covering a guy because he's letting his guy get open. He's not making the tackle. He's not breaking up plays. Now, Kadar Holman seems to be able to do that on the outside, but I don't know if he's good enough to be doing that sort of thing and hold his own in the inside. And Chandon Sullivan is a guy who can do that. He can tackle. He can play aggressive around the line of scrimmage. He can even blitz if they need him to, although I wish they wouldn't. I would rather keep him in coverage and do what he's best at. But those are the 4 guys I would say we need to have back. So Bakhtiari, number 1, Tanya, number 2, Aaron Jones, number 3, Chandon Sullivan, number 4. All key contributors and also really all starters on this team. I love Lancaster. He's a great guy. I just talked about how important he is and how awesome he is. But he is kind of just an unsung hero who you could probably find a guy who can do similar things in the draft or by a free agency for really cheap if they had to get somebody else. So I think they could probably sign him too, to be quite honest. But those are the guys I would want back because they're all very, very important players and probably some of my favorite players. So I'd really be sad if all those guys were gone. So that's I'm good. I don't need any more time.
Jason, anything you'd like to refute or raise as a counterpoint to Ben's choices?
Yes, I want to say one thing here as before Bruce points out that Ben's last Martinez comment was the reason he would lose that last section, only because of the Martinez comment. But I'm also weird about the chat. The chat keeps disconnecting for some weird reason. I'm not sure what's happening with that. It must be so many people on trying to get on our chat that it's overloaded with people trying to chat while we're doing this show. And because of it, it keeps disconnecting and reconnecting. Now, back to this, my brother makes some fine points, and I agree with a number of these folks that he's talking about for many reasons, maybe slightly different. Let me give a little different reasoning though. In some cases, Bakhtiari, yes, needs to be back. But my first guy that needs to be back is Robert Tonyan. Now I understand Jace Sternberger is there, and you also invested a 3rd-round pick in DeGuara, who got hurt right away, and isn't fast and isn't that big. And I'm not sure. It's nice. It's nice that he's a 6th-round talent that you drafted in the 3rd round. That's great and all. He's a nice guy, great beard, and he also has he's a very smart, heady player, which is nice, which is very good, important. Okay, great. But those 2 guys, even Sternberger, I told you a couple weeks ago, Jace Sternberger's 40 time was 4.75. Robert Tonyan's was 4.58. That's a difference maker at 250 pounds that you can get against a linebacker or get against a safety, and that guy can make big plays. We've seen explosive plays from Robert Tonyan, and this team lacks explosiveness. We know that. We know they lack explosiveness with receivers, and they're probably going to sign Devontae Adams back, although they probably should not, because Devontae Adams, as we said, is the possession receiver. He's never going to threaten you deep, And you don't pay possession receivers like number one receivers. You just don't. Now, so Robert Tonyan is a guy who can attack downfield. He's come a long way as a blocker, and he is your number one piece to the offense to have an explosive part that you really, really need. Plus, he's got the best hands on the team. The best hands and surest hands on the whole team. So you also need him to cover onside kicks. Anyway, now, after him, Bakhtiari is key. Yes. Bakhtiari is key because he's great at holding. He's also been a Packer for a long time, and he's got the great hair, and they need him at Bucks games whenever he can go back in person to do beer chugging contests and all those things, because that just adds to the flavor of the Bucks team. Plus, they sell more Miller Lite that way. And the other part with Bakhtiari is the biggest reason is the Packers have been so bad at drafting offensive tackles, so bad that, and apparently they can't sign good ones in free agency either. So if you let him go, what do you put in there? What's going to be there next? You're going to stick your new toy, Jordan Love, behind a terrible offensive line and watch how his career goes right south right away, if that's what you want to get him in there in the next couple of years? No. So Bakhtiari is a must. You also have Chandon Sullivan. Yes, the biggest reason for him is because he is on par with Jair with what he can do. I know Jair gets all the attention, and he's awesome, but Chandon Sullivan is every bit as good as Jair. He's aggressive. He can move. He gets beat too, but Jair gets beat. But they both don't give up on plays. They're good tacklers. They're good with their hands. They're good in zone. They're good in man. And they can catch the ball when it comes their way. Now, the last guy for me to have back that's super important is a tough one, but I really think Tyler Lancaster. Because, again, the defensive line is horrible. Horrible. And they have nothing. And they didn't do anything to bolster it. And again, they're bad at drafting defensive linemen. Dayton Jones in the first round. Nick Perry in the first round. But give me Tyler Lancaster back on this team.
All right.
I'd like to hear that go all the way to the end sometime, just for fun. Next time we go over, because I really put a lot into the ending of that.
Is that Chris Berman at the end?
I'm not sure that's legal to play in some states. All right.
I just have to add one thing, Rick, real quick. He just proved my last point of the most underrated player with his Tyler Lancaster being signed back before Aaron Jones on his list. So I won the last question.
All right.
Well as winning this question. Thank you, my dearest esteemed colleague, for making my statement even more.
All right.
Thank you.
You've stolen some extra time on Lancaster, so I'm going to steal a little extra time on Bob Tonyan. Now,
you actually got an extra minute because I wasn't paying attention. So
the thing on Bob Tonyan is this.
Tyler
Lancaster has played on the field in the last 2 years. So the team recognizes he's a necessary piece, that he has value. Bob Tonyan, they don't even put him on the field. That's why he's more underrated.
All right, Jason.
Sorry. Yes, sir.
Now we've spent a lot of time talking about. Whoa, hey.
That wasn't me.
Sorry, enchiladas. So, Jason, we've just been speaking on the positives of the Packers, underrated players, key guys that they need to keep around. Let's take a look at the other side. Who's someone that has been grossly overrated this season? Who do you think is the most overrated player on this team?
That's an easy one. I don't need 5 minutes. It's clearly. Well, actually, you know what? There's a number of overrated guys. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. We got some contenders here. We definitely have Devontae Adams as a contender. We definitely have Billy Turner as a contender. And the reason he's overrated is because I don't even know how he's still on the field. Like I've said before, give me any. The thing with Billy Turner is he talks a great game. He's really smart. He knows what he should do. He just can't do it.
like staying
physically.
on time during this debate?
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, all
Good
right.
parallel. Yeah. Why not? Okay. All right. But let's get down to it. No, clearly the person, the player, is your former NFC Player of the Week from a couple weeks ago, Zadarius Smith. He has been terrible, terrible. I know he's got 5 sacks, but 85% of the snaps, he does zippo, nothing. And sometimes not even just nothing. He's doing things that are detrimental to the defense actually working. He's getting away from his responsibility. He does that far too much. And you guys know I love Zadarius. He's got the best beard on the team. I respect the beard. I respect anyone that can grow a beard because I could never do it. So if you have a beard, that gives you one up in my book. But Zadarius Smith, great guy. I love his personality. I love how great he was last year. I love how he destroys crappy offensive linemen. But when he gets up against decent offensive linemen, he gets stoned. He gets, and that's, I'm not talking about off the field. I'm talking about on the field. He gets just stopped by those offensive linemen. He can't do anything. He's not effective. He's not a factor. And the other thing that I haven't seen, that I didn't see last year, but I am seeing this year, is a lack of effort. A lack of effort compounded with really bad technique. If you look at what he's doing, he's too high. He's a tall guy, right? But what he's doing is he's standing almost up straight when he gets out of his stance to do his pass rush. He's constantly trying to swim over guys. He's never ripping. He's never dipping his shoulder and going under. He's never staying lower. And he's also leaving his feet a lot when he tries to do these swim moves, which takes away all of his momentum, all of his power. I haven't seen him do a good bull rush yet this year. And that was something we saw him do a number of times last year. He just overpower guys. So I get the stats say he's got 5 sacks. I get he was NFC Player of the Week a couple of weeks ago. But I'm telling you, watching every snap of the Packers this year, Zadarius Smith is by far the most overrated on this team. I concede the rest of my time.
Ben, would you agree with your brother, or do you have another choice for most overrated player on this team?
This is the most boring question of all time.
You could have went with Preston Smith. Preston Smith has done nothing.
No. Yeah, but he's not over. He's rated exactly what he is. Oh, nothing.
He was number 62 on the NFL Top 100 or whatever it was this year. Preston Smith, he was.
It's Zadarius. Okay. For all the reasons you said, and just this season, though. I mean, right. The saddest part is he has the potential to be what people think he is, but he just doesn't do it. So, all right, maybe he's not the most overrated. What I'm going to say is, because there's a guy on the team who, like in Madden, for some reason, has a speed of 91. He's talked about being a great player and a good player, a really good player, a really solid free agent signing last season. And I think it's Agent Amos. I mean, he doesn't really make plays around the line of scrimmage. He gets beat in coverage a lot. He doesn't really make he misses tackles sometimes. Like he was one of the guys who missed the tackle on Todd Gurley when he broke 3 tackles to score a touchdown for the Falcons 3 weeks ago, whatever, the last game before this last one. So, I mean, I agree with Zadarius, but I think he has potential to be what everybody thinks he is. I think Agent Amos is just a guy. I think he's just a guy. I'm going to bring something up because I actually was watching something today because of Game Pass. Bring it up again. I wanted to watch a 2011 game, Week 5, 2011, because I want to see what Rodgers looked like in that game. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but I will talk about this. There was a guy in that game, Charlie Peppera. And a lot of people forget about Charlie Peppera because he didn't really make a whole lot of plays here and there. But man, was he always in the right spot. Man, did he make a play when he needed him to. Did he pick the ball off when he needed to pick it off? Yeah. Did he make a tackle when he needed to make a tackle? Yeah. Did he help out in a double team and break up a pass when they needed to break up a pass? And if a guy got deep on the defense and there's nobody left, he track him down and bring him down, even though he wasn't the fastest guy in the world. And he was the unsung hero on the Packers. that nobody talked about when he was on the team, but he's a great guy and a great player. Or a good player. Not a great player, but a good player. Adrian Amos doesn't even do any of the things that Charlie Pepra did as a guy that nobody remembered and nobody cared about. So how does that guy get zero respect when he was on the team? And Adrian Amos gets big money to be signed as a free agent for safety when he doesn't make picks he doesn't make plays on the ball. He doesn't intercept the ball. He doesn't make tackles around the line of scrimmage. He can't cover. At least not that great. And a matter of fact, he was some of the reasons on some of those outside run plays that Jones had in Tampa Bay. There was one where he didn't get to the outside fast enough. So I'm going to say Adrian Amos, most overrated player on the Packers at this time.
All right. Well, so maybe this is a good transition for the next question, Ben.
Hang on, we got a quick update from the chat, Eric. If this isn't, I can concede some of my time to do this.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
But Browner says actually the Smith Bros is what he was looking for. So like comboing, which I would be with that. Bernard's thinking MVS, which is also a high candidate, Bernard, because they had a lot of talk about him in the last 2 years, and and even now, you know what happens with MVS is like they will have him. These like the NFL Network shows, the Good Morning Football loves him, and like some other ones, and they'll sit there and talk about him like he's great. And then they'll show highlights of him like catching a pass. There's my man MVS. Look at him go. Look at great weapon for Aaron Rodgers and blah blah blah. I'm like, do you guys watch the game? Like, come on, look how this guy plays. But you know what, Ben? I say your case for Amos is very good because he never stood out when he was on the Bears. Why do you think the Bears let him go? You know, and the Packers signed him to big money. So I would almost, if we could retool
the whole free agent signing class of last year.
Yes, and that I think that would end it. If we would just say those three together are the most overrated right now.
Well, use this as a transition for the next question of, okay, who do you think that the Packers could cut? Who do you, looking ahead to next year, to the offseason, what do you think the cut list looks like? This is something that one of the listeners, Bruce, had commented on in a past episode. He had given a list of, let's see, it looks like 5 or 6 players totaling nearly $40 million in cap space. Adams, Amos, who you're just discussing, Preston Smith, Billy Turner, Kirksey. Who would be on your list of guys that you expect to see on the cut list in this coming off season? Ben, why don't you start?
Okay, well, we can't cut them all. Okay, I mean, we got to have some guys on the team for God's sake. But I will say this: based on the numbers that Bruce put down, I think he had $8 million for Kirksey next season. He also had $8 million for Preston Smith next season. So those two got to go. And I know we just signed Kirksey and he played a game and a half and got hurt. And let's face it, Barnes and Summers make more plays than Kirksey made. The only memorable play of Kirksey had was him getting outrun by Kirk Cousins running faster than he was. Okay, when Kirk Cousins runs faster than you and you're a middle linebacker, you're not that great. Okay, you're done. Your career's over. Goodbye. See you later, Christian Kirksey. We should have drafted the guy from LSU. I can't remember his name. Queen. But we didn't. We're dumb. Whatever. Okay. Kirksey, yes. I think we should let him go. See ya. Preston Smith. The guy has done 0 in 5 games. Nothing. Not a single thing. Like, I don't even know if he's even out there. What is he doing? He doesn't get pressure on the quarterback. He doesn't tackle the running back and running plays. He doesn't cover when he goes back in zone. He just kind of stands there. I don't get it. That's $8 million we could save. Goodbye. See ya. Boom. Gone. And then I can't remember. There's one more I was going to say. I can't remember. Say the names again.
Amos.
No, Amos. We could. Here's the problem with cutting Amos. We don't have anybody. No, Turner doesn't make that much.
It's $5 million.
No, it ain't that much. They need him. He's solid at right tackle. He's actually pretty good at right tackle. He's better than Wagner is at left tackle. You can say that. For $5 million, that's not terrible.
Maybe he'll play. Maybe he'll play left tackle this game, and you can see how good he is again.
Devontae still got 2 more years left. That'd be dumb to cut him. They need him. He's a good receiver. He's just not like when they have to re-sign him again the next time. I'd probably not do it. So I don't know. I mean, you can't really cut everybody. So at least those 2 guys, that's $16 million. That could be used to something else. Could be used to extend Aaron Jones. You know, give Bakhtiari some money. Those are 2 guys for sure that probably. I mean, they need to go. They just need to go. They need to come off the books, one way or the other. The other guys, to be honest, I don't think it's not worth cutting them. because they're players and they play and they're part of the team. And they're, I mean, now if we end up drafting somebody, let's say at whatever position for right tackle next year, we get a first round picks to right tackle, and he's really good. Well, yeah, cut Billy Turner, sure. But unless we have something there, we can't. We can't afford it. Same thing with Agent Amos. Who else is going to play safety back there? Deep safety or any type of safety. We already have guys. Will Redmond can't do it. I mean, Scott, I thought I was pretty high on Scott, but I watched him in some games. Maybe it's because of where they have him playing, but they have him playing like kind of like in the nickel dime, like outside linebacker type coverage area, and he just doesn't look good. I think he's better as a free safety deep. So, I mean, we could do that with him, with Scott, but I just don't. I don't know how much of a saving grace that would be to cut Amos. I mean, unless he's making $8 million a year next year or something, but I can't remember exactly what the number was. And I did say he's overrated, but he's a solid player, and he's something that you could work with. So, I mean, if he had to be the third one, yeah, him. But for sure, Preston, for sure, Kirksey, because they're non-existent right now. Either they're hurt, and even when he was out there, he's non-existent for Kirksey. Preston Smith is non-existent, and I don't see the potential out of his play. Just don't see it. So I'm done. I don't need any more time.
Jason, if you were Goody, who would be on your cut list?
If I were Goody, what things I would do differently? Well, let's see here. I agree with Ben. Makes some good points on Preston Smith. I just don't see the value there. I mean, I like him. I think he's a great guy, but I also like some of these other guys who think they're great guys. And, it's nice that you have great guys. And we talked about that. Like Balaz, one of our guys from our international viewers who gives us some good stuff. A lot of times, good comments. He really appreciates. That's why he likes the Packers out of any NFL team, is that Packers have good guys on their team, and it's nice. It would be fantastic if you could just win with all good guys. That'd be great. But I also want to win. I want to win. So let's not just sign good guys. If there's a guy who's a little bit of an issue, but he's got a lot of talent and you can get him on board, let's take a chance on some of those guys. But yeah, Preston Smith, I disagree about Kirksey. And the main reason is he's only got one more year in the contract. I understand it's $8 million, but they're so thin at inside linebacker anyway. And I'd like to see what he might be able to do if he comes back. I'd like to give him one more shot at it, other than some of these guys who have already know what they are and seen what they are. I would part ways with Amos, because I think you could find any safety that could do what he does. And maybe you'd find one that could do a little more. The thing is, the Packers got to invest a little bit more. They got to put, a third round pick on a safety or a second round pick. They've had pretty good luck with second round safeties. They've been terrible at drafting first round safeties, but when they take a safety in the second round, they got pretty good history of drafting a good guy as a safety in the second round. So that would be what I would do. I would cut Amos, save the $5 million, draft the safety in the second round, and pay that guy less and watch him develop. And maybe Savage will come around, but I'm not sold on him yet either, although you wouldn't cut him because he's still on the rookie contract and barely into it. And then the other guy is I would part ways with Billy Turner too, because I just get some more undrafted free agents instead. You can get him cheaper. The Packers have good luck with undrafted free agent offensive linemen. And so I would part ways with Turner as well. And those would be my four. So it'd be Amos, Preston Smith. Even though I hammered on Zadarius Smith, he's still got ability and I'd keep him. And then Turner and whatever guy I said, who also sucks. I can't remember now.
All right.
Sorry.
I got to say, in the chat, Browner and Bernard they're saying Devontae Adams, even with the year left on his contract. Or, well, yeah, I guess he would be, but they're like, nope. They're saying Devontae. They're already saying Devontae's got to go. And I can see that, but you got to think, who are they going to play a wide receiver?
Bruce wants to cut everybody, man.
I know he did.
He's
but this is Andy. This is Andy Browner.
Though Bruce also brings
and Bernard.
Ricky Wagner, he'd saved 4.25 by cutting him.
Well, Ricky Wagner, the way he played the other day,
Fine. Again, okay. Yeah, throw him out there because, I mean, look, who are the best offensive linemen? We talked about Lane Taylor.
Lane Taylor,
hurt.
Lucas
Lucas Patrick. Lindsey's doing pretty good. He was a 5th-round selection.
Jenkins is good. Matter of fact, if they can get Lane Taylor back, just put Jenkins back at right tackle. And then you got Lucas Patrick, and you can Lane Taylor at guards. Sign him back. Center, I don't know about Corey Lindsey. He wasn't one of the guys we said we were going to bring back, so that's an issue there.
Oh, that's right. He's on the.
Yeah, so that's why there's some issues.
They got a lot of work.
That's why you can't cut Billy Turner because he could play guard. He would be bad, but he could play.
I think he's played center in his career too.
Oh, let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yep. Well, okay.
If he's responsible for telling guys what to do and he doesn't even know what he's supposed to do himself, we're in trouble.
I told you he talks a good game. Like you listen to his interviews, he sounds super smart. He sounds like he knows everything.
But sounds smart too sometimes.
But then
that
he
don't
just.
Mean anything. Oh hey!
All right. Let's keep this civil.
Devontae Adams is an interesting one. The thing I'll say about Adams is, if you're parting way with Rodgers, then go ahead. You can part way with Adams.
Wow.
But
Bruce
if you're not, then you got to keep Adams.
Bruce says you saved $13 million by cutting Adams.
I know.
That's the $13 million you could be giving Aaron Jones.
Ooh. But is Aaron Jones worth as much as we thought he was worth when we saw?
He's worth probably 10 or 11. 10
but
or 11.
You and I were having a side conversation, Rick. This wasn't part of the debate, but maybe it could be a little discussion about Aaron Jones, a little debate about Aaron Jones later on if we get time for it.
All right, let's
speed round or something.
In the interest of keeping things moving, for this next series of questions, let's dial back the time to 3 minutes and 2 minutes. All right, these should be fairly quick hitters. Ben, or no, that was last. Ben started off the last one. So Jason, who do you think is the best running back in the post Lombardi era?
I know Ben loves Aaron Jones. I love Dorsey Levens. I love Aaron Jones.
I love Dorsey Levens too.
I love Dorsey Levens. I know that's why I said you love him. I love him too. I also know there have been some other top-notch guys. There have also been a lot of bad ones, a lot of stinkers. Guys with some powerful names, but not powerful games, like Brent Fullwood and Keith Woodside. Ooh. But clearly, and I know Ben undervalues this guy, but clearly, Ahman Green is the best running back the Packers have had in the post-Lombardi era. In my lifetime, anyway. Maybe there's some dude in the 70s. When was John Brockington? Wasn't he one of the guys somewhere in there?
Yeah, he was 70s, I think.
All right. I don't remember how good John Brockington went. I was born in 76. Okay, so I'm saying my lifetime. So if I'm wrong on that, sorry, Brockington. Someone can hammer me in the chat. But Ahman Green, here he is, 4-time Pro Bowler. All right, he played 8 seasons total with the Packers. A couple of them, one he had injuries, and the other one was at the very end of his career when he was all used up and they brought him back because they had nobody. So really, like 6 good seasons with the Packers, 6 seasons. He was a 4-time Pro Bowler, first team All-Pro, which Aaron Jones never was close to that. I don't think Aaron Jones is a Pro Bowler yet either, but 4-time Pro Bowler. He had 5 seasons with more rushing yards than Aaron Jones had in this breakout year just this year. He also had seasons of, these are total yards, so rushing and receiving. He had a 1,900-yard season in 2001 with 11 touchdowns. He had a 1,800-yard season with 9 touchdowns in 2002. 2000 wasn't bad either. He had 1,600 yards and 13 touchdowns. 2003 was his monster year that, again, Jamal Lewis broke ran it for over 2,000 yards. But Green had 1,883 rushing yards, 367 receiving yards that year, and 20 touchdowns that year. 2004, he had 1,400 yards and 8 scores. In 2006, his last productive year with the Packers, he had 1,400 yards total offense and 6 touchdowns. Total 74 touchdowns. He's got the franchise record for rushing yards for a running back. I rest my case. Ahman Green, the best Packers running back since the good old days.
Ben?
Ahman Green is so forgettable He's so forgettable that I forgot he was even on the team. I could name 5 running backs I'd rather have than Ahman Green. Dorsey Levens, Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, Lamont, Eckes' favorite guy, Travis Jervey. Just kidding. I wouldn't do that. But what I'm saying is this. Ahman Green was a guy who he lived off the Brett Favre, man. How many dump offs did Brett Favre do? How many dump offs? How many times? Here's another reason why he had so many yards. Because the Packers would get down there and Favre would throw a pick. And then they have to get the ball back again. And then they'd have to get a bunch of yards and have to throw it in and get a bunch of yards. And Favre would throw a pick. And then here's another reason why Ahman Green's not the best running back in Packers history. Fumbleitis, baby. When you put the ball on the ground as many times as Ahman Green does, you know what? Ahman Green is the Brett Favre of Packer running backs. He's got all the big numbers, but turns it over when you need him to be the guy when you need him to be the guy. I just figured it out. Ahman Green is Brett Favre. He's the Brett Favre of running backs. You know who Aaron Jones is? Aaron Jones. He is the Don Majkowski of running backs. Because he's a flashy guy. He's cool. He wears the shades after he scores. He can make the big play. He can kind of get stuck and do nothing for a while. But somehow he makes it happen. And you don't know why. He looks kind of goofy sometimes. Looks like he's kind of going to fall over. Sometimes he's like his hands all weird, but he gets his bounce back, takes off and goes. He's a touchdown machine. When he gets near the goal line, he can find his way as long as his offensive line gives him a little bit of a protection and doesn't just olay the freaking defenders. But the bottom line is this. Aaron Jones is the best running back since the Lombardi era because he is a scoring machine. And how you win games is to score touchdowns, baby. And Aaron Jones scores more touchdowns than anybody over the last year and 3 games or 5 games. Aaron Jones, number 1 in touchdown scored of all NFL players, period. Aaron Jones. Thank you very much.
I think anyone who knows Ben would say that's saying quite a bit, given Ben's well-known love for Dorsey Levens.
I love Dorsey Levens.
People are trying to get us.
He's the Matt Hasselbeck of running backs.
People are trying to get us in the chat. Bernard's puts in Eddie Lacy in there. Come on, Bernard.
No,
We're trying to get us going on that. And then Dad says, what about Edgar Bennett?
We already got to get Bennett. He's
If Eckes was signed in, he'd be asking about Najee Davenport.
Travis Jervey, yeah.
All right. Since Ben was drawing parallels to the quarterbacks, who do you think are the 2 best quarterbacks in Packers history, Ben?
You got to start with Jason on this one.
You rebut it.
I don't care. You have to start with Jason on this one so I can cut him down.
Ben's deferring to the second half. Jason.
Oh, geez. All right. Let me just say this real quick.
You can't onside kick either. You got to answer it.
No, I'm not going to. Ben's talking about the scoring of Aaron Jones. I told you about Ahman Green, all his touchdowns. I told you he had 13 touchdowns one year, 11 touchdowns, 20 touchdowns one year. Come on, man. Anyway, all right. All right, the quarterbacks, I didn't see him play in person, but Lynn Dickey could really sling the ball. He is not one of the top 2 quarterbacks, though.
Okay, I was going to say.
All right.
Wow.
But I didn't see this guy play.
Did Larry McCarron take over your brain?
I didn't see this guy play, but clearly Bart Starr had something. You know, he was, and on top of the way he played, the results of his play, and the teams he was on, the type of guy he was, the example he set, the way he carried himself and stayed with the Packers throughout, because he was from the South. He'd come up to cold ass Green Bay all the time for all this Packer stuff when he was old and stuff. You know 2 things, that these 2 words that rhyme, cold and old. Those 2 things, when you put them together, that sucks. Mom and Dad tell me that all the time. They're like, man, when you get old, it sucks to be in the cold. And Bart Starr would still come back to Lambeau Field for all this cold Lambeau stuff and these things happening and this special game day stuff, even when he was battling cancer, when he wasn't feeling good and all this sort of stuff. So Bart Starr, definitely one of the top 2. The other one, I know people love Favre. And if we had 3, Bernard, the 3 is easy. That's why we only made it 2. But Aaron Rodgers is clearly in the top 2. And for me, he's number 1. But I don't even need to necessarily say that. But I am going to say it. And it's not just about Aaron Rodgers right now. You can't just think about this year or last year or recent years. You got to think about his whole career. And I went back and I watched some Aaron Rodgers cut-ups and all this stuff of, his play over the years. And he's still great. He's still great. But he was unbelievable for so many years, working with different guys. He had more talent at receiver back then. Yes, they really lit him up. But you just go back and look at some of the things he did, even when he was a little bit younger and could really move, like the throws he made, the plays he made, like some of that stuff in a very boring, uncreative offense by Mike McCarthy where people weren't really going to do stuff.
Sorry. Fart warning.
All right. Anyway, we knew McCarthy's offense wasn't really good at getting guys open. Win your one-on-one matchups, and we just got to re-emphasize, and whatever. But the point is, Rodgers is the best, and it's clearly Rodgers and Starr. Favre is just a touch below those 2 guys.
Right. Ben, would you like to counter your brother's argument?
Okay. I agree. The number 1 Packer quarterback of all time is Bart Starr. Everybody knows it. When you win that many championships, when you're the leader of a team, okay? Yes, Vince Lombardi was the hard-nosed general and he knew what was going on and blah, blah, flappity floop flap. But Bart Starr was the guy who came up and after he got yelled at one time in practice or something, went up to Lombardi and said, listen, I understand that maybe you have an issue with me here, but if you yell at me in front of all these guys, they're never going to trust me. They're never going to look up to me as being the guy who can lead them on that field. I don't have a problem with you yelling at me. Just don't do it in front of all these guys. If I screw up, I'll own my mistakes. And he had that conversation with Vince Lombardi. But there's a guy who you have on your list who never has that conversation because he never owns up for his mistakes. And I'm going to give you some quotes from the game after the game on Sunday, when I showed you on Tuesday what happened and how far Freudian slip, how Rodgers screwed up quite often. His quotes are, he missed a few throws, but he felt good about them. Okay. And he says, I got to take care of the ball better. He did say that. He said, we weren't very efficient. He said, maybe not pulling the trigger a couple times. Maybe he didn't pull the trigger a couple times, but he's got to go back and look at the film. Does Rodgers ever say he's got to go back and look at the film? He remembers everything. He knows what everything happened on the field. But he said that he had to go back and look at the film. And how about this? The blame is never him. He said the wind. He said, oh, the wind was there. The throws felt good, but the wind got it. He said that the practice habits were a problem. And that's why the team wasn't good. Except I showed you in the video on Tuesday that it was actually Rodgers who wasn't pulling the trigger and not doing things he needed to do. He said they were inefficient in and out of the huddle. Well, who's the leader? Who's the guy who gets the guys going? We needed way more time for this one. He said guys weren't getting open on the routes. I showed you on Tuesday that they were getting open on the routes. Rick, stop it. I'm going longer. He said miscommunications. There's miscommunications late in the play clock.
I'm sorry, Ben. The question was the 2 best quarterbacks, not why Aaron Rodgers is.
I know, but I wanted a Rodgers topic, and he wouldn't give it to me, and neither would you. And I'm going for it right now.
I think we need the commission to grant me mute powers in this debate.
No, I'm telling you.
I will.
That is the difference between my number 1 is Bart Starr,
because he should have went first and he chose not to. So I'll give him
because I knew what yours are going to be, and I had to tell you why you were wrong.
Well, why do you got to do that? Just say why you.
Who does the team always say is a great leader on this team? Even Rodgers in his press conference on yesterday talked about great leaders on the teams he's always been on. Big Dog, Julius Peppers, Woodson. But nobody ever says he's the guy. He doesn't take ownership for his mistakes. I watched Josh Allen. I watched Ezekiel Elliott. I watched even guys who won games. Kyler Murray said after the game, man, I need to play better. Rodgers didn't even say that he needed to play better. Rodgers didn't say that he screwed up. He blamed it on the wind. He blamed it on inefficiency. He blamed it on bad practicing. He blamed it on bad habits. He blamed it on miscommunications. But he didn't once say, man, I screwed up. I screwed up today. It was my fault. I got to be play better. He didn't do it. But Bart
In
Starr
all
did.
fairness,
Bart Starr always. Huh?
In all fairness, Rodgers was mentored by Brett Favre.
Right. I understand. That's the problem. And that's why my second best quarterback in Packer history is Don Magic Man Mikowski. And the reason why is because he took a team that had been garbage for 20 years, and he put it on his back. He put it on his back and he made plays out of nothing. He ran around and did crazy stuff. He led the league in passing that year. He had tons of touchdowns. They should have made it to playoffs, but they got screwed because the stupid Vikings won the game against the stupid Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football, and they had him as an interview on halftime, and he was all excited, ready to win. And he's like, all he needed was the stinking Bengals to beat the Vikings, and the Packers would have won the freaking division, but they didn't, and they didn't make the playoffs. The Vikings did, and that sucked. And then he got hurt a couple years later. But the thing that Mikowski always did was he praised his friends, he praised his teammates, he knew what his limitations were. And he just ran around and did what he needed to do. He was not afraid. He threw it. Boom. What's that? Sterling Sharp's double covered. Sterling Sharp's awesome. I'm going to throw the ball anyways. Now, Brett Favre does that too, or did that too. And that's how Sterling Sharp got hurt and almost ended his career that way. But the Magic Man was the guy who took a team of nobodies other than Sterling Sharp and made them a winning team. And he galvanized all of Wisconsin when everybody was like, who cares about the Packers? Nobody gave a crap. But he brought everybody back. And when you can do that, and everybody says something about Favre, right? The Packers had the number one defense and number one special teams the year that the Packers won the Super Bowl with Brett Favre. He wasn't even the MVP of the game. When Rodgers went to the Super Bowl, the Packers were the number one rated defense when they won that Super Bowl. Not only that, they needed an interception by Nick Collins return for a touchdown. They needed a fumble recovered by Clay Matthews, and they needed a pick by Jared Bush at the end of the game just to win that game. And Rodgers threw no picks, which is fine. I know there's a lot of drops. I'm not saying that was his fault. But what I am saying is this. The whole turnaround of the Packers from garbage for 20 years to actually having something there was Don Mikowski and Sterling Sharp. And it might be more Sterling Sharp than Don Mikowski. But Don Mikowski was a transcendent guy who got screwed by an injury, and Ron Wolf, who had to have Bart Favre and had to give it to Barf Favre. And here you go, Barf. You be the quarterback, even though Mikowski was the man. That's why it's Bart Starr number 1, Magic Man number 2. Back to you.
I got a quick thing about the chat, Rick. Sorry.
All right.
Bernard says that he's with Ben, that Rodgers never owns it. Now I'll say this. Does the one thing that disappoints me about Rodgers, now he doesn't have that many bad games. He really doesn't. He doesn't have that many games where he should be like, you know what, I sucked today. I was terrible. But he has had a handful over the years, and I wish that's the one thing I want him to say. That's the one thing I would like. If he said that after a handful of those games, then there would be, in my mind, he'd be my favorite player in the history of the league.
Even after Detroit's game last year, where he missed so many throws, he was
I know.
They all felt good. The throws all felt good.
That's what I'm saying to you. That's the one thing that I don't like. But I will say this: he does not get near enough credit for praising his teammates, because he praises the heck out of a bunch of guys.
He praises the guys he wants. They asked him a question about A.J. Dillon yesterday, and he deflected and talked about Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. They asked him about A.J. Dillon. How do you feel about A.J. Dillon's play in the game? He said, I don't care. Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones are really good.
Ben, you're having a lot of recency bias here. I'm thinking about, I've watched every Aaron Rodgers press conference and interview over the years.
I'm also talking, I just watched that game in 2011. Dude, you should watch that game if you could watch that game. It was amazing.
I know.
Right,
I'm saying
the ball.
He praises dudes. He praises teammates. When people were trying to heap all the credit on him, because that was the national media, he would talk about other guys. He wouldn't just be like, yeah, I'm great and blah, blah, blah. Even though a lot of people said that he did that. He didn't. I've watched every one of his interviews ever, and he didn't do that. What he would do is talk about the team, talk about other guys, talk about his linemen. If they had a great game, the line blocked great today. The receivers are great, blah, blah, blah. So I just want to make that clear. All right. Eric,
I think he's a great player who has a high image, a high opinion of himself. And when something doesn't go right, he honestly believes that it wasn't his fault. It's almost like Favre, except Favre couldn't believe that something bad happened, but Rodgers doesn't believe that he's the reason why something bad happened. And it blows my mind because I want Rodgers to be what he was in 2011, 2012, where he was freaking nuts. He was crazy.
All right, back to Rick.
Okay,
Take-
sorry,
All
Rick.
right. Let's, in the interest of time, we're going to move on to the lightning round.
Yeah.
I don't know how that other debate's going, but I don't really care. So
All right. Well,
I think
you guys aren't-
I'm winning that one too.
well, we'll check back with the chat on that. But all right, moving forward to the lightning round, these are going to be quick hitters. We're going to try to keep answers to about a minute each. First person will get a chance to answer. The second respondent will have a chance to rebut their comments. We'll move on to the next question. We'll try to keep them short, sweet. If it's a one sentence, one word answer, that's fine. We'll move on. All right. So since Ben deferred, he can go first. Ben, who do you think was the best coach in the post-Lombardi era?
Well, it's obvious. It's the man
Come on,
who
quick.
The man who should be going into the Hall of Fame this year, it's Mike Holmgren. Mike Holmgren is another reason why the team turned around. He was able to calm the team. He was able to be a disciplinarian towards Favre, who was a wild stallion who did a bunch of crazy stuff, and he had to keep him in check. He was able to run and keep everything going. He was very consistent, but also very smart. And he had good plans, and he knew what was going on. And I think the only reason why he left was because he couldn't, he had to cook with the stuff that somebody else bought, the groceries somebody else bought. And he wanted to be able to be the guy who could do it himself. But I would say Holmgren is definitely the best coach after the Lombardi era, for sure. Mike Holmgren.
All right, Jason?
is it Mike Holmgren or is it another Mike? Could it be Mike McCarthy? I think it might be because here's why. Mike McCarthy came in as a first-time head coach. All right. He had Brett Favre there, who was so far in his career, and nobody wanted to stand up to Brett Favre. Brett Favre ran rampant over Ray Rhodes, got him out of town. I'm going to play with my broken thumb. I don't give a crap. I'm playing all year. Then you had Squishy Squirman, who Brett Favre did whatever the hell he wanted, right? And McCarthy comes in, first-time head coach, and is like, who's Brett Favre guy? What am I going to do here? I don't know. I want to get things my way, but I'm not sure. And he sat through one terrible year, and he's like, that's it. We're changing this now. No, Brett. I know you've been along forever, but this is my first gig, my first chance at this, and I'm not going to screw it up. I'm not going to miss out on it. So you're going to practice hard. You're going to do the right things. You're not going to throw picks. You're going to be disciplined. You're going to do film study. You're going to be at practice and participate in practice. And because of that, Mike McCarthy turned Brett Favre's career around, and he had one of his best years under Mike McCarthy of his whole career. And Mike McCarthy also had the stones when Brett Favre came back and wanted to demand his job back, and they would have lost to Aaron Rodgers if they gave the job back to Favre. He would have been a Viking the very next year. He said, okay, are you going to, he said, his quote was,
Quick hitter, Jason. Let's go.
I didn't hear what I needed to hear. I didn't hear what I needed to hear from Brett. So he made the decision, moved on from him. The Packers had continued success. Yes, he wasn't that great offensively or at play calling, and he didn't leave the Packers. He stuck around until they got rid of him. So Mike McCarthy.
He stuck around and collected a paycheck for doing nothing. Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Jason, what was your favorite team? Not necessarily the best, but the most fun to watch. Which year was your favorite Packer team? Do you have a favorite?
You know
Packer
which
team?
one it was. You know which one it was.
Oh, God, I didn't expect
Just
this.
say it.
I'm gonna say.
Just
I'm
say
gonna
it.
say. I'm gonna say. 97 Packers, because Dorsey was a featured guy. Bernardo was in full swing. They had awesome dudes on there. Awesome dudes. Keith McKenzie was on the team. 97 Packers. Gabe Wilkins.
Ben?
Come on.
Ben, I
It's
know
19
you're older.
1989. Magic Man. The sack man, Tim Harris. Come on. Sterling Sharp, the greatest receiver of all time, not named Don Hudson. Come on. That season was magical. That season was a season where it was garbage and garbage and garbage. And Lindy Infante said, you know what? We're just going to throw 75% of the time. I don't care anymore. Go for it, Mikowski. And he just let him go. Sterling Sharp, Sack Man, Tim Harris, Sack. Chuck Cecil was killing guys, running at him and smacking them. Actually, I don't know if he was on the team at that year or not. I think he was. Anyways, crazy stuff happened. It was awesome.
Oh, that's so hard.
89 Packers.
Bernard brings up 2011 and 2014, and 2014 had Micah Hyde on that team.
Yeah, but 2014 had the famous
I know,
NFC
but
championship game against Seahawks. So that is the worst season of all time.
Bernardo puts it over the top for me.
Bernardo was pretty awesome. I will say that. And Dorsey is awesome. But Dorsey had William Henderson blocking for him in that season, which is why he didn't do as well. So I can't like that season. Sorry, you're wrong. I'm right again. Okay.
All right. Moving on. And admittedly, some of these questions that the debate commission handed me makes it feel a bit like speed dating the Hafeman brothers. But
Yes.
Ben, who's your favorite character from the Lord of the Rings movies, and why?
Well, I don't know if I can't say my favorite. He is kind of my favorite character.
That's the question. Let's go.
I know, but I'm also going to say he's the most important character. He's the best character. He's the most influential character on me after watching it. Not necessarily the best actor, but the best character is Samwise Gamgee. The guy he's pretty much Tyler Lancaster, to be quite honest. He's the guy who's always there for Frodo. He's the guy who, no matter what, is the Rock. He's the only guy who doesn't immediately become corrupted as soon as he looks at the ring. Galadriel's got all the power, right? Gandalf, Aragorn, all of them. They look at the ring for a second. They're like, ooh, I want that ring. But not Sam. Sam's like, no, Mr. Frodo, I'm sticking with you, bro. I'm sticking with you. Who's the guy who had Frodo's back? Sam. Who's the guy who said, don't trust Smeagol? He's bad news. Sam. Who's the guy who got freaking just screwed over and said, get out of here, Sam. You suck. Sam. Frodo didn't trust him. And the worst part is this. At the very end, when Aragorn turns around to everybody when they're at the gates of Mordor, he says, for Frodo. No mention of Sam. And then Pippin and Merry are running, Frodo. And then the thing explodes, right? Mountain Doom explodes. And there's Pippin, Frodo. And Merry, Frodo. Everybody's worried about Frodo. But who's the guy who never got corrupted by the ring? Who's the guy who was always there? Who's the guy that when Frodo got stabbed by Shelob, took the ring, fought off Shelob, made sure that Frodo survived, though he thought he was dead. And he said, you know what? I'll take the ring myself. But Frodo wasn't dead yet. And Frodo, in the end, became corrupted by the ring. Sam never did. And how does the movie end? And how does the story end? It ends with Sam and his wife and his little kids being home. And he comes home and he says, I'm home. And that's the end of the movie. He is the most stout-hearted, most honest, most trustworthy, most important character in Lord of the Rings. Because without Sam, that ring would have never been destroyed. Samwise Gamgee, best character in Lord of the Rings.
All right. And although those movies are 4 hours long, this debate is not. Though it is a good metaphor for the Super Bowl ring, perhaps. Jason?
Sure. The fat one wants it. That's what Ben's going with. The fat one wants it. Clearly, there's no debate. It's Gimli. Gimli, who has a giant axe and other smaller axes that he can throw at people. Gimli, who counts off his kills that he did in battle. Gimli with no fear. Gimli will be a man and ride a horse with an elf for the betterment of the team. And Gimli, who drinks pints and eats pork, the salted pork. And on top of that, he's got a great beard. I rest my case.
Absolutely. All right, staying on the subject of Hollywood features. Some of you might know that Ben has done several episodes discussing his top 10 lists of various movies. The two movies that have been conspicuously absent from these various lists that Ben's put together are starring one Howie Long. Between Firestorm and Broken Arrow, Ben, which of those two is the better movie?
Rick, I have never seen either of those films, though I have seen Howie Long's acting chops just every day, every week, and when he does his show on Fox, and it's not very good. So I can imagine that they're both terrible. Well, okay, what are they about?
One, he's a bad guy, and he's starring opposite of John Travolta. That's probably all you need to know about that movie.
He's
And then the other
starring
one,
opposite. Okay,
he's a smoke jumping firefighter who comes to rescue people.
and he's
And has
part of
some
a team.
really awesome. Is he part of the team?
Yeah, like a part of a team. He's not like the main.
He's not the
Guy.
main bad guy, no.
Okay, I'll take that one. Yeah, that's a
Alright.
better movie.
But in in Firestorm, he's got a really amazing action scene where he's pretending to ride a motorcycle. So
Well, there you go.
I don't want to sway Jason's decision, but
I
Jason, would
don't
you like
think
to
I don't
comment?
think
Or,
he's seen these movies either.
I'm not swayed because I really wasn't listening to you guys. But the thing with Howie Long is I'll take that Longboard movie as well. That one, Longboard. Isn't that one?
all right.
Standing tall, standing long. Howie Long and Longboard. I don't remember. Wasn't that it? Isn't that the one with the whatever that was second one you said was?
Broken Arrow. And it's a John Travolta.
Oh no,
factor.
then the first one.
All right.
All right.
Great question.
Okay. Hey, Jason said I should throw you some curveballs.
That is a great-
That
That
curves
is
a
me.
curveball.
That's a good one.
All right. I think we know from past episodes that I think by default Jason has the better legs after seeing the comparison of Ben versus the Sauce. However, which of the two Hafeman brothers can put those legs to best use and is the better dancer? Jason, is it you or your brother?
It's clearly Ben. Clearly.
Ben, looks like
Yeah,
you're
It's me.
happily acknowledging this.
I have better rhythm.
Whoa.
And even
Who's
though
a
I have
percussionist? Who's a percussionist here?
yeah, but I actually have a drum set at my house. That
I know,
play.
but I was a percussionist through 8th grade.
Yeah, but that's the reason. There's a reason why you stopped at 8th grade.
That's true.
No, but I will say this: I've been mentioned many times as being surprisingly nimble of foot for as large of a gut and scrawny legs that I have, and it's because I got some pretty good rhythm and I'm nimbly. I have some agility with 0 speed. There you go. Which leads to good dancing because you're not really trying to move fast. You're just there, being good. So
We
yeah.
might have to incorporate this thing. Bernard keeps throwing in the chat. He's really on this with the Cowherd. He watched Cowherd too much, and he keeps saying how Cowherd keeps saying Rodgers can't come back in the 4th quarter, can't come back when he's down, stuff like that.
Bernard's just trying to usurp this debate since he
All
knows that
right, yeah.
Cow Turd has been banned from Hafeman Brothers discussions, and he's just trying to get Ben fired up
That's what we
and
say.
derail
to
this
Bernard.
discussion.
Don't.
I think
don't listen
he's
to
afraid
Cowherd.
that Ben is falling behind, and he wants to derail these activities and just detract from what's actually happening.
Oh, sure. It's a distraction like we see in other debates. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
All right, so Ben, using this nimble agility and your muscular legs, did you prefer playing basketball or football back in the day when you would be playing pickup games?
Well, I've never actually played organized anything, for that matter, other than baseball. But football, I never played actual football. I only played pickup football with the Statesmen. And yes, I was known for a couple juke moves here and there. I was absolutely terrible at rushing the quarterback. I couldn't even get around guys. So my offensive swim move or my defensive swim moves were terrible. And to be honest, my basketball game wasn't much better. But I do have a couple moves. I got a hook shot, and I got like a weird running at you and then flip it like this, and then it goes in somehow without even touching the backboard on a layup. So it's not really a layup. It's like just a floater that just kind of goes like this and then flops in. And I'm pretty good at defense. So I've had some pretty good time. Hey, I cover you like you wouldn't believe.
You're
on
pretty
defense.
good at checking people regularly.
Yeah, I beat
Slowing
you
them
up. That's what I do. I smack
Okay,
you.
all right, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I would say basketball for sure. There was one game where I was actually feeling it, and Browner was there. We were playing pickup game behind TV 13. It was me, Jace, Browner, Sean Stelton, and a couple other people. I can't remember. It was 3-on-3. And for some reason, I was nailing every shot that day. I was like jump shots going in, layups go, everything was going in. It was amazing. I never shot that well or played that well before in my life. So basketball for sure.
Jason?
In honor of the Bucks tie.
All right. I mean, I played football. I did not play basketball past middle school. I had a disagreement with a coach who Whatever, that's a whole nother story. To make this quick though, I was not fast. I'm not tall. I had great hands. I could catch the ball really well, which is why drops piss me off so much in watching professional athletes who can't catch the football. And I love football, but man, I love basketball. Basketball is my favorite sport. I know we talk Packers all the time, but basketball is my favorite sport to play, my favorite sport to watch. I love basketball. Love it, love it, love it.
All right. Since you both have experience in the booth calling games, would you prefer to call a game on the radio? Would you prefer to call a basketball game or a football game, Jason?
Basketball. Football, you get to be cold. It's cold sometimes. Basketball, it's nice and warm in there. Plus, fast paced. I don't have to think that much. I don't get a chance to think, which is probably better.
Yep, basketball is much better, especially, and I was only ever a color guy. The thing that was best about basketball is I didn't have to talk other than usually when there was a timeout or, the ball goes out of bounds or whatever it was. So I could really watch plays and I could, and you could see everybody. When you're calling football, sometimes it gets so congested, you can't really see who is doing what and what's going what. And not only that, you have to come up with something every play because the play-by-play guy would tell you what's going to happen. And then the color guy has to say what happened right after it. So if you're not on top of your game, you're in trouble. Where in basketball, you can kind of watch, and then you can have as you know, I like to talk for a long time. You can have extended long periods of talking during the timeouts or during the inbound plays of what happened earlier in the game and what you saw with this guy on the back shoulder pass, or maybe he did a good pick play on the outside that got the guy open and when he went around to make the nice jump shot or whatever the case was. That because you don't hear those things by the play-by-play guy, because play-by-play guys like, oh, here's a shot, pass to the corner, shots up by what's his face, rebound by this guy. But you didn't know that the reason why the guy was open in the corner is because the other guy set a pick for the guy to get over there. And then when the rebound happened, that was because another guy elbowed the guy in the gut and then jumped up and grabbed it. And those are things that the color guy gets to talk about in an extended period of time. And because you can hold it in, you can watch it all happen in front of you and see things that other times people can't see on the radio. So it's a really nice color scheme. And sometimes in football, you just miss things because there's way more. There's 22 guys on the field and you can't see everything. It's just too hard. So basketball is way more fun.
Well, that insight definitely gives me more appreciation for the skills of a really elite tandem like Joe Buck and Troy Aikman and their ability to fill the airwaves with such quality information.
Hey, have you ever watched the quick? I would say one real thing. Have you ever watched the quick version on Game Pass of the games? This is what you hear from Joe Buck. And the pass caught. The pass caught. The pass caught. Every time somebody catches the ball, he goes caught. That's Joe Buck every time. It's so annoying when you watch just the highlights and it just shows a guy caught.
Joe Buck needs to talk to my mentor, who, when I first started out in radio doing games, gave me an assignment. And he just said, come up with at least 10 to 15 ways to say the same thing.
Yeah.
And then you don't run into that repeat factor where you keep saying the same thing over and over to describe a certain action, because a lot of things in the sports are going to be the same. So if you have that vocabulary and you can mix it up, you don't run into that, and it's not boring and it's not annoying and it's more fun. So,
yeah, but Joe Buck is the number one guy on Fox doing multiple sports, and you're just some Yahoo on YouTube that 3 people are watching during this debate. But that's besides.
I know.
Heeding
not the
Jason's
question.
advice, I think I'll introduce a new transition and say I think the viewers would love to hear the next question. All right, as some people know, the Hafeman brothers seem to have this affinity for 1970s Chevys back in their younger days. Coincidentally, both of them had Chevys that were a lovely shade of pale green. So whose Chevy was faster, cooler, hotter, whatever? Ben's Nova or Jason's Malibu? Ben, why don't you start off this one?
This is not even close. Even when the Nova was booger green, it was the coolest thing anybody ever seen. I can remember when I got that car from mom and dad first time, and I took it down. It was actually to a football game because I just got my license that summer, like right at the end of summer, and I got the car right before school started, and I went down to the football game to play my trumpet in the band because that's what I played. I didn't actually get to play football; I just played the trumpet. But that's why I love football so much, because I got to watch it. But anyways, and I got there, I went and grabbed my friends, and I was like, "You guys got to check this." They were like, "That's your car?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "That? Wait a minute, that freaking car?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that car." And the best part, well, it's bad because I got in an accident. But after I got in the accident, we had to find parts for it. We could only find a black hood and a blue fender. And we had to, and my dad said, hey, we can repaint it for you. What color do you want to repaint it? And I originally wanted it to be yellow, kind of like Bumblebee is in the Camaro color. After he's the cool Camaro color, like that dark red or dark yellow. But Dad was like, oh, that looked terrible. Pick another color. And I was like, any color? And he's like, yep. And I was like, okay. We were driving around one day, and then I saw it. It was called Raspberry Metallic. It was almost the color of the background behind, somewhere between that purple and that pink was the color. And I put it on a 71 Nova. And oh my God, did I cause a lot of traffic accidents just driving through towns with that thing. It was amazing. Now, as far as speed, it had an incredible pickup. It looked sweeter than Uncle Jack's house. Everybody wanted to get a picture of it. There were so many times I'd park my car someplace and I'd come back out and there'd be a note in there saying, hey, I want to buy your car. Call me. People would always want to buy my car. And I'm like, no. So I never did that. But I know this much. The fastest I ever got it to, I think, was like 92, 93. And it felt like it was going to fall apart. So I was like, that's enough of that. I never really did it again after that. So it could have gone faster because it had the horsepower. But man, it felt like it was all over because it didn't have power steering. It didn't have seat belts, really. It didn't have anything. It was just freaking a big, like a tank, but like a super awesome looking tank. And Jason's car, I don't even know if it had like a floor. Like I think there was a hole in the floor or something. It was not that great of a car.
Yeah, but that was
cool.
That was
not cool.
That was on the passenger side, and there was carpeting to cover it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but here's the answer, Rick. Ben's car was definitely cooler, but he drove it like an old grandma, so mine actually went faster.
You weren't there that day. There's only one person who was with me that day, and I almost scared her to death.
I've driven with you since. The question was which of the green Chevys was cooler. So
well, either way, even when it was green, it was cool. Rick, you know that. You saw that sucker, man. It was cool.
All right, and in all honesty, the Raspberry Nova apparently was the inspiration for one of my personal favorite Countervoid songs.
Yeah.
Jason, which is your favorite Countervoid song? Giving a plug to one of our show's sponsors, I guess.
My favorite. Ben's written a lot of great songs, and Brad has some pretty good stuff too. And together they made a lot of really good music. But my my favorite one is off the first album, and oh god, it's hard because there's like heavier songs I really dig, and some off the Fired Up I really dig too. But I think I got to go back to off the first album, and it was still, I've said it's your best song you've ever written, and you know which one it is.
Okay, well they don't know. That sounds like similar to what happened 3 years ago when we asked that question to me, and I said, you know what it is? And you're like, well, they don't know. Tell them. They don't know. Well, what is it?
Why can't I think of the name right now? I'm blanking.
You don't even know the name of the song.
And I don't want to start.
Don't wake me. Don't wake me, you big jerk.
I don't want to start singing it to remember. Yeah, that's what it's called. Don't Wake Me. Sorry. Yes.
Okay. Don't Wake Me is a very good song.
It's the best song you've ever written.
It's pretty dang good, but it's not the best. The best song I ever wrote is also on that album. And it's a song that when you hear it, you can tell that guy felt like complete crap when he wrote that song. That guy was messed up when he wrote that song. That guy was all screwed up. He went through all the things. He was depressed. He was mad. He got super like whatever. He went through the 5 stages of grief. At the end, he accepted it. And that's Fool. Fool is a song I wrote while I was taking a poop. When you can write a song while you're taking a poop, you know it's good. You know it's good. So check out Fool by Countervoid. There you go.
Moderator, do you have a favorite?
I do like Raspberry Supernova, but Blind Corner going with an oldie but a goodie.
Ah, the classic.
Nice. So. Jeff Tate factor.
All right. Since we're a few minutes past time already, get our final quick hitting question. Ben, what do you admire most about your brother?
Well, besides his incredible good looks, that he has mom to thank for. I look like dad. Dad's not bad looking, but he had to make up what the only reason why he ended up, marrying mom is, and she's super pretty, was because he was just super charismatic, obviously like me, and he's funny. And I got all that. I got the same genes of dad. I'm funny. I'm charismatic. I'm not the best looking guy, but I'm not ugly. I'm just not the best looking guy. But the thing about Jason that was very, very, I've always been super happy about and excited about is he's just really good at everything. No matter what it is, he can do it. You need him to play basketball, he can play basketball. You need him to act, he can act. You need him to sing, he can sing. You need him to promote something for you, he can promote it. You need him to talk on the radio, call a radio game, he can do it. He can do anything. He's one of those guys who just like it's almost like it's like Chuck. When Chuck downloads all the stuff in his brain, he can just needs to do it, boom, he just does it. Jason's like that. And that's awesome. And sometimes he gets down and he's like, wow, I wish I could sing like you, or I wish I could write songs like you. And I'm like, okay, but that's really all I can do. Where you can do like a whole bunch of crap. Really, really awesome. And that's one of the things that's really, I think he needs to remember sometimes, that he is a very talented guy in all different areas of life. And that's awesome.
Well, thanks for that. I think it's a little bit of an overstatement. I do recognize that there are a number of things I can do, and that I do a number of things pretty well, but never anything quite as good as I would like. But one thing I've always been admired about Ben, of course, I've said this before, is how talented he is as a musician and as a songwriter and an artist and a vocalist and instrumentalist, all that stuff. And we've had conversations about music where he's talking about music. I've asked him questions and he's talking about music like I would never, ever thought about music or understood it in my life. And I was like, wow, holy, you just lost me, but I'm going to keep nodding my head until you stop talking. And then I'll pretend like I understood what you said when we're done. And that is the thing I really admire about him. But more than that is just that even though sometimes people get the wrong idea about him, even though sometimes he yells, gets all wound up, gets fired up, gets mad. And even though sometimes he criticizes Aaron Rodgers too much.
Yeah, I do that sometimes.
He is a guy that is passionate and really cares about family and the people in his life. And he's always someone you can count on. So those things, very admirable about my brother.
All
There you
right.
go. What an amazing, amazing night. I just have to say,
I guarantee you didn't hear anything like that on that other debate if you watched it.
no. But I will say, there's somebody in, Hoboken, Wisconsin, named Louise Schmicken-Migan, and she has a love for the Packers like no one else. And I know that she understands my communications and she'll follow my ticket. Thank you very much, Louise.
Right. Thank you both. I think one of the most important take-home messages, whether you're on the Jason side of things or the Ben side of things, is that the Smith brothers are overrated and don't produce, but you can count on the Hafeman brothers to come in strong, bring it strong every week. And if anything, they're a little underrated. So,
And even though we're not as talented, we always try our best.
Even if we didn't prepare a single thing for this. Good job.
or you don't
Our
have good
best.
beards, but you don't need good
That's
beards
true.
for the radio.
I need to shave actually because I'm looking kind of like I didn't shave. I didn't have time. I had to find my tie. It was in my Bucks tie. It took me a while to find that. So, hey,
I was really hoping you were going to ask that made up beer question that I put in there, Rick, because I don't think Ben would know the difference.
I don't know anything about beer.
I was going to re-edit it because I didn't know what the heck you were talking about. So,
It was meant to throw him off.
all right. Well, instead you got Howie Long.
that
And all better for that.
one threw me off. I had no idea he was in 2 movies. I just remembered that he was in 1. I thought that was bad enough. No?
You know, it could have been more if he hadn't landed that gig with, Fox. Maybe he could have.
Oh yeah, he would have had a whole. That's the other thing. Aaron Rodgers said he's looking forward to acting career after football. That's what he said on Pat McAfee on Tuesday.
He's not a good actor.
Oh, that's what he said.
No.
He's looking forward. That's what he wants to do after he's done with playing football. Acting career.
No. He should host Jeopardy. That's what you should do. Rick,
All right.
thank you so much for trying to contain us, moderating us.
Yeah,
somewhat
Rick,
keeping us
thanks,
moving,
man.
and playing those sound effects when necessary. We appreciate it. Could we hear the yabba dabba do one more time or whatever it is? That's what Dad says when he sneezes. Yabba dabba.
All
do.
right.
He
We'll
does-
let
he does.
Jason Adam Sandler take us out. Oh, let me get it back to the beginning. All
Thank
right.
you for watching. I know you feel better about watching this, and you avoided that other debate. You're welcome, America. Catch us tomorrow night for our regular schedule of programming, where we talk a lot of Packers, we drink a little bit, and we have some guests. But a big thank you to Eric Dahl tonight. Eric Dahl, you're the man for taking on this challenge. No one else would do it. You did. Thank you for all your help and keeping us going tonight. Thank you guys for checking out our show. Rick, Ben, you look great. You look great. Rick, great background. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow night, 9 p.m. on the Hafeman Bros channel. Stay safe, stay well, and vote.